Celebrities have it made. Fancy parties, great romances, exotic vacations. Right? Wrong. Welcome to Worst Ever, a once secret show for Hollywood insiders only, where celebrities privately divulge their most embarrassing,
shit,
most horrifying,
my one daughter's like this,
and most unusual personal stories.
The agent that I had at the time was kind of known for hitting the sauce.
Is coming to television. On tonight's episode, the star of Pretty Little Liars, Ian Harding, gets caught with his pants down, literally.
And then her father walks in.
NSYNC's Joey Fatone gets dissed by not one, but two icons.
He goes, why don't you just step off?
And from The Young and the Restless, Kelly Sullivan gets fired, robbed.
Hi, I've been mugged, I'm in pursuit.
And nearly dies, all in one day. You're about to feel real good about your life. Everybody, hello, and welcome to Worst Ever. I am your host, Christine Lakin. Now, this is the show where I ask all my famous friends to come and tell me the worst, most embarrassing things that have ever happened to them, and then I share it on national television. Seriously, no, I've got a Paris Hilton story that makes me look dumb. So, let's get this party started. What do you say? Our first storyteller is from a show called Pretty Little Liars, which is the most tweeted about show, I guess, ever on television. But he does promise me that his story of shame is longer than 140 characters and is hashtag hilarious. It's a little internet humor for those of you who don't know. Please welcome the very cute, the very funny Ian Harding.
Hello, everyone. So my story begins senior year of high school, which was an interesting year because the 3 years prior to that was pretty terrible. You know, I went to this all-boys Catholic prep school. I didn't really fit in because I was like the drama kid in like a sea of sports stars. Both my parents were in the military, so I didn't have a lot of money, and everybody else like shat money. But then like senior year, just something happened, and maybe it was puberty, but we get into senior year and things just like kind of click for me. My grades go from failing to like C's, and I get into the school that I wanted. And then finally, like the cherry on top was that I was asked to be a commencement speaker or graduation speaker, which was like unheard of because most people didn't know that I was alive. So I'm on cloud 9, and I figure, you know, who's the first person you want to go and tell? But your girlfriend of 2 years. And so I race over to her house, and I'm pulling up the long driveway to like her 26-bedroom mansion. She was well off. Her father was like an OBGYN stockbroker. Like I walk up to the doors that are like, you know, to the ceiling here, and opens the drawbridge. Her mother is standing there. She says, like, I heard the news, and I'm so proud of you. Ian, I love you like a son I never had. She had 2 sons. And she says to me, you're such a wonderful boy. You're so nice and loving to my daughter. We'll call her Coco. Go down to Coco. She's down in the movie theater, because they have a movie theater like people do in these houses. And so I race down the gilded spiral staircase to the movie theater, and Coco was waiting there. And I open the door, and she also greets me with praise and says, you know, I'm so proud of you. This is a big deal. I decided, why don't we celebrate? So I got some pizza, and she says, we got your favorite movie, A Knight's Tale, which I don't know why. I thought that was like the pinnacle of cinema. And so she says, like, I'm just so proud of you. And so we sit down, we start having some pizza, and we start kind of getting a little heavy. Now, bear in mind, she goes to one of the other girls' schools in the area, so she's in full Catholic girls' school attire. Yeah. This is the beginning. You're welcome. It's like the beginning of a porno. And so she says, I've got an idea. She kind of goes over like this and gets like a great hamstring workout. And I'm thinking, this is literally the pinnacle of my life. This is the best moment of my entire existence. It like beats birth and all of that. Because I have a beautiful woman in front of me in a schoolgirl outfit. I still have pizza in my mouth. And I'm just filled with such joy. And that was not what her mother was feeling, who was standing in the doorway. And I'm looking at her, locking eyes. But I've yet to tell Coco, who is continuing her sort of originating of the twerk. So at one point, her mother finally, after like what feels like 40 minutes, she goes like, ah! like somebody like clubbing a seal. And then Coco finally is like, holy shit, and like jumps off and pulls up her skirt, and she says like, you two, Coco, Ian, I need you to go upstairs right now. Coco, I really hope that's pizza on your face. You need to wipe off your face. And she leaves. And I think my life is over. When we do the long walk of shame up the spiral gilded staircase, and we go to the sitting room. And so we're sitting there on the couch. Coco is in tears. I'm sweating profusely. And her mother looks at us and she says, how could you? I trusted you after all that I have done for you, after all that we have been through together. This is how you repay. And like mid-sentence, Coco Chanel interrupts her and says, but it was our first time. And her mother calls her on it. She's like, oh yeah? After what I just saw, like the reverse cowgirl, she like knew the name. She's like, oh yeah, Coco. And so, but that was the moment I think I improv'd for the first time in my life. Because I just blurred out, well, she was ashamed. And her mother goes, what? I said, well, she was ashamed. That's why she wasn't facing me. And she goes, what are you talking about? Because she was giving us so much shame, I figured like any man would, I would just turn it back on you, like if it's your fault. And then my mind started racing. I'm like, okay, why the hell is she ashamed? That was such a stupid thing to say. And then finally I fall on the fact that she had been going to debutante classes with her mother, which because she, she's like a senior at a Catholic high school, naturally you go to debutante classes, they teach you to be like a nice Catholic woman. So like married by 21 and like don't talk so much. You're like building a life of shame that she can't make love to somebody who has loved her for 2 years, because that's a lengthy amount of time, and who is employed, I wasn't employed, who's going to a great college for future waiters, and how dare you? I don't mean to be rude, but how dare you? This is your daughter, and you're doing this to her. And there's silence. She starts crying, and she like gets up and comes over to her daughter. And she sits and just like comforts her and it says, Coco Chanel, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't know that I was doing this to you. And I'm sitting like here. And so I kind of like sidle in and I like put my arm around her and start comforting her too. I'm like, it's all right, listen, parenting is hard, Yeah, you never know with these things. And she's like, I know, and it's just like, I feel like I was trying to make her a good woman and everything like that. And I'm thinking like, I am in the clear. I am so out of this. And then her father walks in. And he was like, what the fuck is this? And her mother regains her composure and says, would you like to know what your daughter was doing downstairs in the theater? She was engaging in coitus. That's when I learned that word. I was like, oh, wow, all right. And her dad says, and I'll never forget it. He goes, wait, really? He's the drama kid, though. Like, I saw him, like, in drag last week at the play. Which is bullshit, because it wasn't drag, because it was cats. So it wasn't like... And so he says, like, but he was the drama kid, right? And we're all sitting there, like, stunned. And we're like, yeah. And he goes, oh, I thought you were gay. I am Ian Harding, and that's my worst, best sex ever. Yeah.
I had an opportunity recently to sit down with my good friend, Joey Fatone, of NSYNC. And, like any good friend, I lulled him into feeling secure and vulnerable. And then I asked him a lot of embarrassing things about his life as a former boy bander. And then we pressed record, but we didn't tell him.
This was basically the height of our career with NSYNC. It was year 2000. We were selling out stadiums, selling out arenas, breaking world records. We were doing all this kind of stuff. And here comes the MTV Music Awards. We had a big, huge performance with Nelly. It was amazing. We won some awards, which was great, and we have an after party. Now, this after party had Nelly and us, which was really, really kind of cool. But it was this lavish club in New York City. I think the place was called The Twist, and it was anybody and everybody that was there. You had Busta Rhymes, Missy Elliott, you had TLC, you had Timberland, all these people. We were like the stepchild of urban market. We were with the peeps, you know, power to the people. Back then, there was no cameras on your phone, so I had one of those little fun wind-up cameras. So I was so excited to be there, and I've seen these people, but I've never actually got a chance to take pictures with celebrities. Now with photos, I have some rules, for me, personally. If I'm at a urinal, don't take a picture. While I'm eating, shoving stuff in your mouth, hey, can I take a picture? You're like, that cool either. Other than that, I will take pictures with anyone. And I think that goes for a lot of celebrities as well. So I see TLC, hey, can I take a picture with you? Sure, click. Hey, Timberland, you're here. Can I take a picture? Great, click. Busta Rhymes, snap, great. Everybody's taking pictures. I'm all happy. Now I'm in the VIP area again and I see Prince. Of course, one of my idols. Love his music, especially New Power Generation album, Diamonds and Pearls. Awesome. Here he is standing there. And I'm gearing up to actually ask him to take this picture, but I'm so just nervous because it's Prince. Finally, I go, hey man, you know, I enjoy your work. He said, thank you, I really appreciate it. And I'm like, cool. And there was basically this balcony. And I was waiting to gear up the excitement to say, hey, do you mind if I take a picture with you? So finally I go, all right, Prince, do you mind if I take a picture with you? And he goes, I'd rather not. And turns around as if to talk to somebody behind him, but there's nobody there. There is nobody behind him but the balcony. So, you know, that's not gonna bother my night. Forget about it. So now, hanging out, having a great time, a little bit on the dance floor. People going, hey, congratulations. I'm like, yeah, thanks. Dance floor's crowded. People are jamming, dancing, having a great time. And then all of a sudden, I see Hugh Hefner, and I see all his bunnies there. And I'm like, oh my God, Hugh's right there. He's dancing with the girls, but a few of the girls come up to me. And I'm like, hey, Kendra Wilkinson is actually a friend of mine, and I've met her many times. So I was like, oh my gosh, good to see her. Give her a hug. How's it going? Blah, blah, blah. This is my night. I'm gonna party it up. So I start dancing and grooving, no big deal. I got these hot chicks dancing around, and all of a sudden I feel a tap on my shoulder. I'm like, oh, okay, must be somebody who wants to take a picture. I turn around, it's Hugh. I'm like, hey, Hugh, how's it going? He goes, why don't you just step off? I said, excuse me? And I go, what do you mean? He's like, no, don't dance or touch my girls. And then kind of walked away. And one of his security guards came over, he had a little bunny on his suit, and they literally whisked him away and the girls over in a corner. I just got humiliated again at my party. Look, first of all, Prince in the little purple outfit, and now I got this little geriatric dude in pajamas telling me to step off. So I realized that night, no matter how big you are, there's always somebody bigger than you. Well, unless of course you're Prince. He's really small actually, like tiny, like a gnome. I'm Joey Patone, and that was my worst after party ever.
Our next storyteller was nominated for a Daytime Emmy for General Hospital for a scene in which she raped herself. Yeah, honest to God, that really happened. Luckily, her story tonight is a lot less rapey and a lot funnier. Please welcome the very funny Kelly Sullivan.
So I used to live in Inwood, New York City. I was about 26, broke, unemployed. Life was shit. My next door neighbor was the drug lord of all Upper Manhattan. So anyway, I got in touch with this girl who owned a party business where she would go and dress up as princesses and go to parties and entertain all these children, and she made a killing. She had a really successful business. So I was super stoked, and she was like talking to me. She's like, all you have to do is just smile and just be really hyper, and the kids love it. So a couple days later, she calls me up, and she's like, hey, I know that I told you we were gonna train, but funny enough, a party has just come up. And it's for this woman, she lives on the Upper West Side, and her daughter wants Cowgirl Barbie. You're so perfect for it. I'm gonna tell you how to do it. I'm gonna give you all the rundown. I'm gonna give you your bag of goodies and send you on your way. So she gives me her boombox, she gives me a limbo stick, Mr. Potato Head, beanbag. She's like, do you have a face painting kit? I said, no. She goes, okay, well take mine, but please be careful with it, because it's my only one, and it's like super expensive, and just, you'll be fine. And I was like, all right. The next day, I get ready to go to the party, and she had given me a cowgirl hat, and she's like, please, it's my only one, like, treat it well. I had to borrow cowgirl boots from my roommate, and her feet were a size smaller. I put on like a stretch Gap jean pencil skirt that I was like, bing, 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 like that's how fast I could walk. And then I had on this button-up pink thing, cowgirl hat. I was like, I'm good. So I'm feeling really confident. I get on the train. I'm like, yeah, man, this is my new gig. You know, at that time in my life, the only thing that I had of any worth and any value was my iPod. And I saved up for like 6 months and I bought this iPod. So I would just like totally jam out to my blessed iPod. So I show up and I'm super stoked and this woman opens the door and she's like, well, good, you look like her. And I was like, yes, I do, ma'am. She's like, come in. And we walk in and she's like, come here. And she takes me to this foyer and she's like, look, here's the deal. I'm a party planner. That's what I do. This is a situation. You have to pay attention to my daughter most of the time. Do not get out of character, because if my daughter, who's obsessed with Cowgirl Barbie, finds out that you're not Cowgirl Barbie, it's gonna be a situation. And I was like, okay. And she's like, and there's a hyperactive girl in the room. You'll be fine. I'm sure you've dealt with this a lot. Just, if she acts out, like, I'm sure you know what to do, but I just want to warn you because she's really, really hyperactive. So she takes me out and she's like, hey, everybody, guess who's here? And I'm like, hey, y'all. I'm like, let's start with the potato sack throw toss game that we play. And they were like, yay! It's like, bing, 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 bing. I stop it on the ADHD chick. She fucking bounces out of the room with the potato head sack thing. And I'm like, all right, well, let's do Duck, Duck, Goose. Yeah, come on, y'all. So we start playing Duck, Duck, Goose. It's going well, a couple minutes. Finally, one of the girls is going around. She's like, duck, duck, boom! And she like punches this girl in her face. And the girl's like, oh. And I turn and I've lost control. The kids are jumping up and down on the sofa. They're like going crazy and throwing shit's breaking. And I'm so panicked. And suddenly, through these like doors that open, the mom comes out and she stares at me. And she's like, this is a joke. What the hell is this? You obviously don't know what you're doing. You can see yourself out. This is not acceptable to me. So I leave and I grab my boombox and I grab my bag and I'm so dejected and I go. I'm so like devastated when I sit on the 1 train and I'm just sitting there on my long ride back to Inwood. And I'm just thinking about how my life is just a joke. And you know, you don't have any cell phone service on the subway, so I'm just listening to my iPod, listening to like Portishead or whatever was like super uplifting at the time. I finally get up to Inwood, and it's like bing bong, the doors open. And I had taken out my earbud of my iPod and I had thrown it down. And I call my mom and I'm walking down the street and I'm like, Mom, I think I'm gonna move back home. And my mom's like, oh honey, get like a couple more steps. And then I feel this hand go into my pocket. And I'm like, and I look, and this kid, he goes like, and he runs. And I'm like, Mom, I gotta go. And I was like, not today! And I like fucking drop all of my shit and I start to run after him because I was kind of a big deal on my track team in junior high. So I'm running after this kid and I'm screaming, but I can only run like this because I'm in my pencil skirt and my hat is like back and it's like choking me and it's like whoa, 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 whoa. And it's like slowing me down, but I'm like, come back here! Ooh, and I'm like dodging cars and like leaping over shit. And I pick up the phone and I call 911. Hi, I've been mugged. I'm in pursuit. I'm in Inwood. I'm approaching Broadway and Dykeman. I'm following this kid. You need to send a squad car right now. And I'm running. And I'm like, you fucking dick, I will catch you. And he would run and run and he would look back at me every like half a mile and he'd be like, fuck, like she's still coming. Finally, the kid runs into this dark courtyard, way project-y apartment complex, and he runs, and I can't see him anymore, and I'm just gaining on him, and I catch him, and he stops, and he stands in the middle of like 20 people, and he's like, and I'm like, you give me my iPod right now, and he's like, I don't have it. I'm like, yeah, you do, you took it, give it to me, and he's like, it's in your pocket, and I'm like, oh, shit. So I'm standing there, and the cop is screaming, and I'm just staring at him. And the only thing I could think at that moment was, shame on you. And I'm standing there, and I realized that I was gonna probably die right in that moment. And I have the police, and I pick up the phone, and I said, yes, police officer. Yep, I got it back. I got the iPod back, and I'm leaving now, but just, stay on the phone with me for a little bit. And I run away. And I realized when I got out of there, as I turned the corner back into the light, that I almost died. I had my iPod, all was well in the world. And I start to walk and I go, oh fuck. The bag of all the party favors, the limbo stick and the boombox and her face painting kit and everything. And I'm like, shit, I dropped it and I just ran. Oh God. So I start hobbling, running over there. I get to where I was mugged and it's all gone. Someone had really robbed me of my party favors. And I'm like, fuck. And I just started walking home and I put on some Fiona Apple and then I thought, well, someone in the Bronx is gonna have an amazing limbo party. My name is Kelly Sullivan and that is my worst job ever.
Show. I'm Christine Lakin, and just keep in mind, the next time you're having a worst ever moment, just think to yourself, one day, this is going to be one funny story. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next week.